So, good morning. Good moyed. Today is the 19th day of Nisan, the 17th of April. And we're starting a new topic. Mitzvah Sakravas v'Sefirat HaOmer. The mitzvah to bring the sacrifice of the Omer and to count the Omer. So most people today are very aware that there's a counting of the Omer. We're less aware of the offering that was brought. So what was brought? On the second day of Pesach, they would go out into the field and they would cut from the new wheat, from the new barley, and they would bring it. They would bring this and make it into flat cakes or flat bread, and that would be brought to the tabernacle, to the temple.
All through, or
no, just that second day. Just the second day.
Which was not a Yom Tov.
The 16th, no.
No.
In Chutz La'aretz it is.
Yeah, right. Just saying.
What's left from that today is Chadash. Chadash means that before they cut the Omer, you can't use the new.
Is that how Chadash comes in?
Yeah.
It's a way. It's almost a zikaron, a memory.
It's actually a halacha.
But
even
as
though
a zikaron.
No, it's the. In Chutz La'aretz there's a whole discussion about whether it holds or not. But in Eretz Yisrael, it's a derabanan.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a rabbanan.
Yeah. So it means that you can't use from the new grains until the 16th day of the Omer. Why from the barley, not from the wheat? Because the wheat still takes another 2 months to be ready. And the difference is that barley is the food of animals, and the wheat is food of man. And there's a lot to be said about that. One of the parallels today is that barley represents mundane wisdom or science. It's for the animal soul, as we say. And Torah, which is the food of man, which is the food for the divine soul, for the man in man. Beyond that, that's how the Mekubalim came to the whole idea that during these 49 days, we're feeding the animal. We're fixing the animal soul. So they didn't talk about an animal soul. We'll see how they talk. They talk in a completely different language. The language of talking about an animal soul and divine soul, that's from Chassidus already. But let's see what he has to say. HaOmer b'yom sheni shel Pesach, to bring the Omer offering. Omer literally means bushels. On the second day of Pesach, Shenmar ve'nif et ha'omer lifnei Hashem lirtzonchem mimachorat HaShabbat. As it says in Leviticus 23:11, and we read it soon in the Torah even, and Parshas Emor, and he will lift and take back and forth the bushel, the Omer, before Hashem, meaning it has to be done before Hashem means in the temple. To your will, that we'll discuss, the day after the Shabbos. And that's the famous verse where it says that it's the day after the Sabbath, which is a unique way to say the day after the first day of Pesach. And about this there was many discussions and arguments and conflicts even in the Second Temple period. Now it also says, Lispor kol echad shiva shavot. There's another mitzvah, which is for each person to count 7 weeks. Sheneimar usfartem lachem. They are not related on the face of it. The Torah doesn't necessarily connect them. They're in separate verses. But we know that they happen at the same time. From the moment that you start and you bring the Omer offering until the day of Shavuot, the 49 days later, we count 7 weeks. And that's the verse that says, Usfartem lachem mimachorat HaShabbat. And again it says, in the same parsha, mimachorat HaShabbat, the day after the Sabbath. Again, meaning the first day of Yom Tov, the first day of Pesach. So that's what we have in the Torah. Hina Omer haya ba miseorim, shenikra ma'achal be'ema. So right away he starts with what I just said, that the Omer comes from barley, which is the food of the animal, the brute. Bagmara, as it says in the Gemara in Pesachim Gimel Amud Beis, v'sodom mevuah ba'arucha pri etz chaim shar hamatzot. And its secret, meaning the mystical tradition behind this, is explained in length in Pri Etz Chaim, this book here, Sha'ar HaMatzot, when he discusses Pesach, which is really, here he says, there's no such thing as Sha'ar HaMatzot. Sha'ar HaMatzot is somewhere else. It's Sha'ar Sefirat HaOmer, Sof Perek Vav. Really, it's called Sefirat HaOmer. U'v'ta'amei mitzvot. And in another book from the tradition of the Arizal called Ta'amei HaMitzvot, in Parshas Emor, where these two verses are, Nitba'er Tamtzit Ha'inyan, he explains the crux of the issue here. Ki se'ora, when you write se'ora, se'orim is the plural. The singular is se'ora, sin, ayin, reish, hey. So this word, its value is 575. And that's twice mantzapach. And that's twice the value of the final letters, which is kind of strange, right? Why? Because it's not twice, so you have to do something. Mantzapach are 280, right? So together, 2 times 280 is 560. How do you get to 575? So he says, imotiyot, with the letters, ayin sham. There's a way to add the letters and you get to 575. Am I right that mantzapach is 280? Maybe it's 290. No, that wouldn't make sense. It would make sense. Wait a minute. So which one is it? 90, 91, 80. No, it's 280, like I remembered. So it's more complex about how to get to the 575 there. In any case, he says, the Arizal says it's 2 times seora, 2 times mantzapach, meaning 560, and here we have 575. So how to exactly put that together? We have to look in Ta'amei HaMitzvot. Now, so now he wants to get into the very core of the explanation here. So we said already that Pesach we celebrate our state of being in small-mindedness, in katnus. Now, when we discuss this, we're going to have to go a little bit deeper into the whole explanation that we said. That in the Arizal, one of the big innovations is that there is a state of being in katnus and a state of being in gadlus. And there's not just one state like this, not just one transition from smallness to greatness, but there's 2. Katnut Aleph, Gadlut Aleph, Katnut Bet, Gadlut Bet. This is one of his major innovations. And it's like an understanding that the human being matures in 2 stages. That the first stage that I mature is when I become bar mitzvah. But then there's a second stage when I mature, and that's usually supposed to end with age 20. So I have 13 years and then 7 years. That's the simplest way to understand this. The 13 years is the first stage of maturation, of maturity. Becoming able to perform mitzvos requires a certain maturity. And we say it requires a certain responsibility or a certain awareness, a certain knowledge. So we say that the child does not become aware of the conflict within until he's 13. And then to come to a higher state, which is to become aware of divinity in the world, that happens at age 20. So we call this Yedi'at HaMetziut V'riyat HaMahut. In Chassidus, this is called, the first stage is to attain the state called knowing reality. It's knowing the reality. What's in here? It's like a person who knows everything that it says in the Torah. By age 13, theoretically, you know everything that it says in the Torah. Because what's the Torah talking about? That you have an inner conflict. There's a force that's preventing you, impeding you from doing what you want, and you have to overcome it and do mitzvahs. That's the general reality of life. But that doesn't mean yet that you see the essence. That's the second maturity. Ri'iyat HaMahut. Seeing the essence. What does it mean to see the essence? That everything that the Torah talks about is actually here in this world. It's not just in the books. Right? This is the famous story from Rebbe Yitzchak Berdichev, who used to advocate for the Jewish people. He used to say to Hashem, if the Yetzer Hara was in a book and the Yetzer Tov was written in our hearts, maybe you could come to us with ta'anot, with claims against us. But now that it's the opposite, that the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is in the heart, and about the good inclination we have to read in a book. So what do you want from us? It's very hard to do what's right. But that's the way the world is. But Riyat HaMahut means to see that there is all the things that the Torah talks about are in reality. And that is supposed to happen at age 20. That's chokhmah, that's wisdom. Another way of saying this is that Yedi'at HaMetziut, to know reality, is the maturation of the mindset of Bina, of understanding, the mother principle. And we can say that at age 13, the person becomes free of his mother, let's say, or he already has his mother in him. It's not to become free because I want to send her away. It's because I've already taken her into myself. I've integrated everything she's given me into myself. That's Yedi'at HaMetziut. The second maturation is the wisdom, is Chokhmah, the Abba. And that's exactly how the sages describe it. They say at age 20, right, Shmiya and Riyah. At age 20, a person is able, ben mocher benichsei aviv. That's the lashon in the Gemara, in Baba Basra, that the son can begin to sell, to do business in his father's belongings, in his property. That happens at age 20. That is seeing the essence. And that's the second stage of maturity. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow with Bezrat Hashem after this short introduction.